probably over 50 years.
Wow.
And we have not met for 50 years. Until last year, October, I came here to join our high school alumni reunion. I decided, I said, when I'm in LA, I'm going to look around and look for this guy. And other friends, my schoolmates, many of them over 50 years, we never connect with each other. And I called so many people until I got his number. So I called him, and he was surprised too. I said, I gave her my Chinese name. That's he's familiar with my Chinese name. And where are you? I said, I'm here in LA. He said, I will come to see you tomorrow. Then Papa was beside me. No, he's a pastor. We cannot let him come. We have to go instead. So we drove next morning and have lunch with them. And then after lunch, he invited us, let's go back to our house and we talk. We talk and talk and talk, and all the memories just came out. Oh, we just recall. And he, you know, Pastor, when he determined to go into seminary school, he was disowned by his parents. That was over 50 years ago. He decided he was on a call that I have to give up myself to the Lord. So he decided to go to seminary school, and his parents just disowned him, drove him out, and Ankong and Ama, my parents, accepted him and helped him out. And until he got married, and then he recalled he was in tears and recalled how Ama Ankong treated him. And every evening, if he did not show up for dinner, Ama will send the driver check on him. What happened to him? And all the memories just came. And I said to him, you know, next year, our family reunion, we will set up here in Anaheim. And I want you to come and talk. Now, maybe this great Nicole Tyler, you don't know great grandma and grandpa. Great. No. Sharon is Ankong Ama.
Yeah, so
but
great.
yeah, it's a Taikong Taima. Oh yeah, with them is Taikong Taima. And with Sharon, with your mama, it's Ankong and Ama. They call Ankong Ama.
Yeah,
and
that's
this,
my Ama and Ankong.
yeah, that's your mom's Ankong Ama. Oh, okay.
Do you look like him?
What?
Okay, I look like Papa, I look like Taikong, okay? I look more like Taikong, okay? All right, and we are very privileged. This is a very, very rare opportunity. And that they accepted my invitation. Say, okay, I will come and show up. I will talk, okay? Okay, we give him the time, all right?
I realize that we're all heading to Disneyland. So I will try to be kind so you invite me again. That's important. But I will try not to take too long. Although I could probably go on for hours. But maybe just as a touch of history, because we were singing Silent Night. And I want to just maybe tell this story, which I think some of you know, but it's worth remembering that when we talk about Christmas, you know, it's always, the world is in such turmoil and there is no peace. And sometimes when we go through history, there were times when that song, Silent Night, you know, stopped the war. Some of you might have heard this story, but let me tell it again. Because there was one part of that story that I didn't know until this time, even though I got this article from LA Times. So this was 102 years ago, during the war between Germany and France, a big war, World War I. And on Christmas Eve, which is to come tomorrow, the two sides, I don't know which side started, singing Silent Night. And the war stopped for that one day, just that one day. And that story has been told many, many times. Let me just read a little bit from the LA Times describing that scene 102 years ago. as the soldiers, put down their arms between Germany and France, World War I. It says, what did they do? They sang songs together, they sang carols. The two sides, enemy sides, they sang carols. They barbecued a pig, just like Ka-Tong, Philippines. They barbecued a pig. They exchanged German beer for British rum, and they went up, officers went up to the rank of colonel, greeted their counterparts on the other side. So they became friends. They took photographs together. But one part I didn't know, and even if you heard the story before, I don't think you know it. There was only one person who refused to join in this celebration. Anybody know the answer? I didn't know that. So you should know this. And at least when I read this, I felt it really spoke very loud. There's only one person who refused to join this celebration. It says here, refusing to join the party, however, was 25-year-old Adolf Hitler. Yeah. At the front with his German army unit. He thought the truth shocking and dishonorable. He just would not join. So in some ways you could say anybody who doesn't celebrate Christmas, I mean, we don't want to say it loud, but I mean, it's almost like a Hitler, he just has no sense of grief, and peace was come down. Like I said, thank you for inviting us. We felt very at home with all of you, and especially most of you have the look of Ankong Ama in one way or another, and I could probably tell for hours. And I thought I'd pick up 2-3 stories because of time. And when Ama said she invited me, I grabbed the opportunity. There's no difficulty for me to come because I've been telling the stories at various times. I think many Chinese churches where I preach every Sunday in different Chinese churches, and many of my stories really regarding Ama and their love for me, because as Ama said in 1962, I became a Christian in 1955. That's a long time ago. The same time Abraham and Sarah and those people, just a little bit after Moses, or before Moses, it doesn't matter, long time ago, right? So I became a Christian in 1955, and then the next year I felt the call of God and wanted to enter the ministry. My parents were against it, and so basically in 1960, February 20, very clear in my mind, my dad said to me, if you want to remain in this home, then you should not go to Bible school. If you want to go to Bible school, there's no home for you. So I left home at that time. And,
how old were you at that time?
Well, I was 22, 20 years old, sorry. Yeah, 18 or 18, that's true, yeah. And that in itself is a very long story, and I'm grateful because among the people in the Philippines who look after me in ways just so grandeur that I would never forget our Ankong Ama, when I was with them. And I can say to all of you today, as children and grandchildren, that at the age of 75, I'm still preaching every Sunday. I preach tomorrow evening, I preach Sunday morning, and I have so many preaching schedules. And all of this because your parents have taken me and just loved me way beyond everything imaginable. We're not related, nothing, and just somehow they took me in just so wonderfully. So I want to tell, make this a little light time and tell you, and I hope you laugh, because if you don't laugh, I will never come again. But it really speaks to, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing to talk about grandparents, especially as the legacy of their love is so amazing. And the first one I tell is very, very short, and I told you, Ama, right away. I said before they were married in the Philippines, we have to bring the dowry to the home, And great-great-grandma was very good. She said, "Oh, come, you help carry the dowry so you'll get some money." And every time I get money, I go sign out.
Ang pao.
Ang pao, yeah. But the ang pao is especially big if you carry the orindora.
They don't know what is orindora.
There's a pair of spittoon, In Asian culture, there's a little spittoon, little spittoon where you spit into it. But of course, it's used for, at that time, used for even, in the evening, you have to urinate or all kinds of things. But you bring that pair in to guarantee that they'll have boys.
Orinola.
Sure, Orinola, sure.
So it's
So,
like
but
cat.
your mom loved me so much, she said, be sure to, you be the one to carry this pair, so the ang pao will be bigger. So I did have a privilege. So you should thank me that I carried the See, that's the beginning. The beginning, all of you came from that pair of Orinoco. So see, without that, one of these days you should show them. I think if you Google the word, you will see it in your Google. Because somebody, when I told the story after, I say somebody came up right away and say, hey, this is how it looked like. Yeah, it's nothing but Spriton. But that's only the funny story, that small one. But one story that I want to start with, and a couple of them are a little bit long, but I won't take too much away. I remember when your mom came to the U.S. and in New York, and we were in Philadelphia attending seminary, and she said, "Oh, come over to New York." So were you with her at that time? I don't think so, right? I don't think so. And we went to Macy's in New York, you know, and Ama was a fairly large woman, you know. She's not. She's not Farrah Fawcett or something like that. She carried 2 large paperbacks, you know. I later found out they were full of money in the paperbacks around Macy's. And when we got to the counter, you know, and it's not expensive jewelry, but one of those knick-knack counters with all kinds of, you know, earrings that are cheap ones. And Grandma said, "Oh, let's look at one." She asked the clerk, "Oh, I want to look at this one. I want to look at it." So the clerk kept bringing it out, kept bringing it out. There must be 5 or 6 or 7, and I helped with translating for her. And then the clerk was getting impatient. She said to me, "Ask the lady which one she want to buy." So I asked Grandma and said, she wants to know which one you want to buy. So your mom said, "I'll buy all of them." At that time, the clerk went back to the telephone and said, "Send me some help." No, I always remember money talks, okay? I always remember that. You know, at first she said, "Whoa, who is this big lady walking around with 2 paperbacks? She's probably looking for 99 cents discount or something like that." Yes, he was purchasing all of them. "I buy all of them. Give me help," you know, coming over. So that was one story that I always remember, and that's a wonderful story. 2 or 3 a little more serious story, and this one I have told many times, and I think. I think I'll save the more serious one at the very end. This one I told in many of my sermon, and it's a little bit long, so you'll be maybe 3-4 minutes. For a long time, your parents, I'm also a social worker. I'm a master of social worker. So for a number of years, I taught social work in Hong Kong. And when teaching social work in Hong Kong, every time your parents came to Hong Kong, they were very kind to call me and say, "Hey, we're in Hong Kong." You know, for them to go to Hong Kong, it's a little bit like for you to go to Disneyland. It's how close, you know, you're in Hong Kong. So we rushed to the hotel to see them. And at that time, we only have 2 sons. You know, our eldest son is now a sergeant with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Our second son works in marketing, you know, and at those times, they were very little. Every time I bring them together to see your parents, in the hotel room, you know, Ankong would always give them each one $100 bill. So I tried to bring them as frequently as possible. But that's not just that. But I always confiscate the $100 and tell them, "I'll give them to you." I tell them, "I'll give them to you when you grow up." Until now, I have not given to them. Don't tell them that. I say, "Oh, don't worry about it. Papa will give it for you, and when you grow up, I'll give it to you." But they haven't grown up yet, so I haven't grown up. But that's not the end of the story. So, you know, every time they're always very generous, and that's not the gist of the story. So, at one time they came, and you know, the same ritual, and all of us, you know, we always end up eating. And one of their favorite places is called Yongki. Yeah, you've been there many times. That's the most famous roast geese restaurant in Hong Kong. It's still there. It's not as good anymore. The old people have died, the old parents, you know, but it's still there. We were there probably 10, 11 years ago. Yongki is the #1 roast geese restaurant in Hong Kong. Everybody knows about it. So they go there every time. So this time, you know, my conscience hit me and said, "It's about time I do something to thank them," you know. So I bravely said to your parents, I said, "All right, tonight I'll treat you." You know, of course, your parents would say, "Oh, you know, think nothing of it." But, you know, so we went to the restaurant, you know, and we sit down, and I remember I brought with me the $100 that I stole from my son. I thought that should be plenty, you know. So we sat down. I forgot who all your sisters were with her, and I don't think you were there.
No,
yeah, and we're on one table. And when we look at the menu, you know, I was looking for the cheapest order, like mapo tofu, you know, anything like that. There's nothing. Everything is expensive. And when at the end of this, looking at the menu, I concluded it's beyond my ability. I almost committed suicide. Then I was bragging that I'm going to pay for this meal. I mean, this is a very earth-shaking event. That for once, I'm going to turn around and treat them, you know, and say thank you. Here I am. My $100 hardly enough to order the soup, you know. So I didn't know what to do, and I
Hong Kong dollar.
no, but this one is US dollar. US dollar. But then, okay, so to make a long story short, so we were there, and I was looking at the menu, and I'm sure your dad knows I was in bad shape, but I can tell my face was turning. Oh, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't say, hey, how about you treat this time? And I was hoping, yeah, okay. Now, it's very important. I'm going to do some little acting here. So, this restaurant is very famous for roast geese. And there's a friend of your family, Ong Xian, Mr. Wong. He's known as one of the shipping kings in Hong Kong. Hong Kong, you know, there are many shipping tycoons. They own, even if you own 3 boats, you can call yourself tycoon. That's quite all right. Chinese are the world's humblest people and the world's proudest people. You know, we have kings of everything. You remember Mr. Ong? I met him at your house in the Philippines. And all of a sudden, he was there. Of course, I found out that he goes to that restaurant to buy roast geese for his wife almost every night, you know, and buy several. And I don't know if I spotted him first or your dad. So there he was. Mr. Wong was there buying, and he bought, I'm sure, 3 or 4, and really chopped in boxes. And then, you know, all of a sudden I thought, wow. At first, when I look at that menu and there's nothing I can do, and your dad kept ordering the most expensive one. Every time he ordered the most expensive, I had a heart attack was coming to me. And I also prayed very hard that Jesus would come again. And Jesus didn't come. I say, Lord, please come, save me. If there's a time you need to save me. He didn't come. You know, all in the menu. And Father was ordering, oh, this one, big, fish and lobster and all the other stuff. And then we spotted Mr. Wong, and there he was. And then he ordered. And of course, this is afterthought. But we look at it, and I'm sure your dad saw him too. So after he packed those 3 or 4 roast geese, you know, he's going to take home to sort of, please his wife. And here's something very important now. When he left the deli counter, you know, if you are a poor man and you buy something in the restaurant, you know, the waiter walks in front of you because he's afraid you will leave without paying. But if you're a rich man, you walk in the restaurant, the waiter walks behind you. It doesn't matter. That's very So anyway, Mr. Wong, you know, the waiter was carrying these boxes of geese, and Mr. Wong was walking in front, and he walks towards different tables because he knew so many people in the restaurant. Here's my acting part. So he walked towards us, and we were here, and he was over there. And when he came to this table there, he knew those people, and all he did is, at first I didn't know, it meant I'm going to pay for this table. And then he walked over. I kept praying, oh, here. Latitude 79, longitude 94. Sail the ship over here. You know, I really prayed very hard. You know, and there were 3 or 4 tables. You know, I like that signal. Everybody do that. See, there's hope when you do that. You know what I mean? So he did that, 3 or 4 tables, and he moved her. I tell you. And eventually, by God's great mercy and faithfulness and kindness and grace and whatever you have, love, whatever, he moved to our table. At that time, all angels sang hallelujah. It was the best part of Messiah. Angels everywhere. You know, when he did that hand down toward my table, I was saved. You know, that's a very important story. I use that story to illustrate, you know, sometimes when we were caught in the bind, in some way. And I always said, I'm not saying your dad is God or angel, but on the other hand, or Mr. Wamish, no. But I'm just saying many times when we were caught in the bind, God shows up, in his own amazing way. So that story I must have used hundreds and hundreds of times. And your laugh was not good enough. You could laugh better, but I mean, that's all right, I forgive you. But anyway, that is one story I always remember. That it's really funny how I was caught in the bind. But the last story I want to tell is one time. I don't think I told you this story, but your dad actually, in a way, almost saved me, because I was a wannabe preacher, and you started from very lowly ranks in the Philippines. I was just we called him kansu. Remember, just a little secretary in the office. But I was very active in. Of course, Grandpa and Grandma both were elders in the church, and of course, like Mom said, they care about us very much. In fact, when we got married, we rented a very small, tiny apartment. And when your mom found out we were living in that apartment, she said, "Oh, is it going to be painted or not?" Oh, I said, no need to paint. We didn't have any money. We were so poor, And before we knew it, Mom sent somebody and painted our apartment just like that. So they really love us very much. But when I was working at the church as a secretary, was a time when the Korean Orphan Choir came. I don't know if you know the story. The Korean Orphan Choir came to sing in the Philippines. And because I was the secretary, so I got a lot of these phone calls. And of course, they wanted to perform, and they gave churches limited number of tickets. They gave churches limited number of tickets to go and attend the concert. And I have the tickets that was given to me for that particular concert. And very naturally, I gave the ticket to Grandpa, so the family can go and all that. But I didn't know that I got into real big trouble, because the other leaders in the church, they didn't get the ticket. They didn't get to go to the concert. And of course, some people thought maybe I stole the tickets or maybe whatever crazy thing. So one day when I came home on the Sunday evening, after going to the rural area to preach the gospel, it was quite late at night, 9 o'clock or something. One of the pastors waited for me in the front doors of our little apartment. And I was very tired already. He said, he lied to me, He said, I need to take a walk with you. And I have absolutely no suspicion. But he said, I need to take a walk with you. And you really don't want to take a walk 10 o'clock at night. But I walked with him a little bit. Walk. And eventually, because we live very near the church, so we walked into the church. I still didn't know the trouble I got into. So eventually, he led me into this room where the elders were meeting. And they were conducting an inquisition, because they want to ask, who authorized you to keep this ticket, number one, and what did you do with the ticket and all that, But this pastor lied to me, because if he had told me that, maybe I would be scared to go to this meeting. So I was ushered into this room where all the important leaders in the church were seated there. And they, of course, asked me very direct questions, what I did with this. And they were, of course, some were angry, some were jealous, all of these other things. And at that time, it was your dad who spoke up and said, no, the tickets were given to me, and I made use of it, and that really saved my head, because if Grandpa did not speak up, I'd probably lose my job and lost my connection. So there are many, many more stories like this that somehow in the nick of time, they come and just rescue me. I want to also say that we came to America in 1964, which is a long time ago. That was the last time the SS President Lines sailed from Philippines to America. At that time, it was cheaper to go on boat than it was to go fly by airplane. So it took us 23 days to sail from, now we take less than 23 hours to fly, but it took us 23 days to sail from Manila to San Francisco, And I still remember that night your parents treated us to a fantastic dinner. And then they saw us all the way to the boat, and they were not young people. And the Manila Pier area is not a very pleasant area. But they took us to the pier, and we were standing there waving a hand. We don't know whether we'll see each other again, you know. And I still remember, especially Mom, you know, shouting, you know, and God protect you. And actually, you can ask my wife. When the boat sailed, for at least 2 weeks of those period of time, I cried every day for the longest time, just you know, missing people in the Philippines. But I still remember the scenery. That it was late at night, and you know, Dad and Mom were there in the pier, waving a hand at me and wishing me well. So I just so many more memories to tell. But my purpose for telling you the story also, Mary's idea is a very good idea, is for our next generation to know that, you know, your great-grandpa, great-grandma were remarkable people. Today I work mostly in Asian churches. There are some people who are wealthy and some people who are not so wealthy. But there are the wealthy people, some of them are greedy, and they just use their wealth to make more money. But the great-grandparents, you know, in the Philippines, they were wealthy people. But they put not just their money into church, into various people's needs, but again and again and over, their home was never short of gathering, you know, for church activities. So God gave them a lot of resources. They have so generously shared with many people, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who benefited, but I sometimes think I'm probably the luckiest one, you know, to be able to eat at their home every night, or otherwise I probably don't have money to eat. I need to tell you a little story about Disneyland, because you were talking about the ticket, e-ticket, yeah. When we came to America in 1964, many things happened, a story too, and then I really will conclude. We came by the boat. It was the first time in my life to see styrofoam cup. I don't think at that time we had them in the Philippines. So when we were on board the ship, we saw styrofoam cup. Wow, and I said to my wife, we better save some of this, because when we go to seminary, we may not be able to buy cups, you know. So I must have saved 50 of them. So when we arrived at San Francisco Pier, this is true. The man opened up, he almost fell, because what is this? Maybe more than 50, because every day I save them. I use a little bit of water, save them. Stacks and stacks of styrofoam cups. So that's a very interesting experience. The other interesting experience was also, we came to see our Pastor Chua in Los Angeles, you know. And at that time, two things happened, and these are two small stories I want to tell, because one of them has to do with Disneyland. Pastor Chua, you may or may not know him, because there are so many visitors from our church in the Philippines who come to their house. So they buy Disneyland ticket, A, B, C, D, E. And usually they use the good tickets, you know, the ones you can have good and exciting rides. And they don't buy they don't use the e-ticket, whatever it is that you write a little thing for babies, you know, 3 years and after. So Pastor Chua saved a lot of those little useless tickets. So he drove us to Disneyland, the two of us. He gave us those leftover tickets. We were thanking him left and right. I shouldn't, it was a waste of my time. So we got into Disneyland to find out that these tickets are practically no use for anything exciting, except if you were a 3-year-old kid, you know. So we hardly wrote anything, because we couldn't buy anything. And then came time for lunch. We were shocked in 1964. Everything was still quite expensive for us, you know. Just at that time, the minimum wage was $1.25 an hour. Wow. I mean, it is hard to believe that there was a time $1.25 an hour. You know, so we had no money, you know. And I still remember at Disneyland, that one time with useless ticket, we just walk around, we're hungry. And when we look at the menu, it was so expensive we couldn't. So we bought for our lunch 29 cents bean, pork and bean, a little cup. And we stood there and enjoy it. You know, it's kind of, when you look back and say, you know, God's grace and just wonderful. And so the purpose of my sharing today is to let you know that, you know, you come from families that that really have placed God first in their lives and have shared everything that they are, they were, and they have with so many people. And today you are here to pick it up, you know, the legacies, the spiritual inheritances that is so rich in both the Ko family and the C family. I didn't know the C grandparents as well, but I know of them too, you know, and all the, you know, our generations, the early generations, and even today in immigrant churches, whether they be Korean churches or Chinese churches, I preach every Sunday. There are, you know, when we came, of course, 40, 50 years ago, everybody was a student, everybody was poor. You know, I remember Bible study night, there was always one person who is late or one person who could not show up because his car is broken down. You know, that's really true. You know, but now we have succeeded. You know, our generation have grown up, we have made it, we have, well, most people have decent jobs and all that. And there are only two kinds of people. The one kind of people said, hey, I deserve this. I made it on my own. I'm going to, you know, just keep all the money to myself. I want more. I want to make more, you know. That's one group of people. But there are other groups, the other group of people who said, hey, God gave me all of this in order to continue to pass on to the next generation. And that's a very beautiful testimony. You know, I live in Laguna Woods, which is just a little bit off south of Irvine. It's a city of 20,000 seniors. You have to be 55 years old to live in that city. Actually, tomorrow night we have a candlelight service. We're expecting about 165 people. And these people are mostly retirees. And all of them have wonderful stories to tell. You know, and I am so glad because even though I had to go through the fact of my parents disowning me, but God gave me, you know, the Ko family as my parents for that very, very critical period of my life. There's really hardly a day when in my own thinking and prayer when I don't think of your parents, because I think I say it without fear of contradiction that without their love during that very crucial period, I simply could not have continued on. And so I'm just so happy to be here. I want to read this as my closing. Some of you have heard of this, but at least it's a good way to conclude about the life of Jesus. Because after all that's said and done, you know, we remember our ancestors, people, you know, who give us life and all that we have. But we also remember Jesus Christ. And this is a little poem that I'm sure you have heard of it before, written by a pastor called James Allen Francis in the year 1926, 2 years before his death. It's called One Solitary Life. Some of you might have heard it. Let me read it as a closing. One solitary life. He was born in an obscure village, the child of a peasant woman. He grew up in another obscure village where he worked as in a carpenter shop until he was 30. Then for 3 years he was an itinerant preacher. He never had a family or owned a home. He never set foot inside a big city. He never traveled 200 miles from the place he was born. He never wrote a book or held an office. He did none of the things that usually accompany greatness. 20 centuries have come and gone. And today, he is central figure for much of the human race. All the armies that ever marched, and all the navies that ever sailed, and all the parliaments that ever sat, and all the kings that ever reigned, put together, have not affected the life of man upon this earth as powerfully as this one solitary life. So today, in these days when we're all happy celebrating Christmas, again and again, you know, every chance you see a manger scene, I suggest you pause for a few seconds, just look at the little baby in the manger. Or you have images of that. And that's a little humble baby. And yet, he is the person who have influenced civilization, history, culture, and us, you and I, are so powerful. And he continued to do so. And we're the people who carry this legacy and continue to pass on. Okay? Thank you very much. You have been very attentive, and I'm sure I wish you a good day.
Thank you.
We're proud of you. Dad, did she cry? That song is very good.
Sing few.
Are we gonna sing one more song?
Yeah.
We are?
To finish it,
What song do you
Shirin,
want, Tyler?
let's
Tyler.
finish
Tyler.
it.
I have to lead the
Tyler
song.
gets to choose.
Samuel, which one do you want to hear?
Anything. Silver bells. Or Little Drum Bells.
Come on.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.